Here we go. Good evening and welcome to the Fort Smith City Board of Directors study session on this August 11th of 2026. As you know, our meetings are being televised live. This time, we will go directly to the Citizens Forum. Madam Clerk, if you're prepared.
Okay, first is Shane McKinney, and each will have 5 minutes.
Hello, everybody. So I want to talk about two issues, one of them that I didn't plan, but it came up earlier. The first one, though, is I have a friend who just had a new water meter put in at one of his properties by the city's water meter replacement program. This property is a one-bedroom apartment, a very small apartment, and the water bills ran consistently $60. He has it set to auto pay, just like a lot of citizens use, which is very convenient until it auto pays over $1,000 the first time the water meter was changed, which just happened to him yesterday. This is repeatedly a problem. I get messages like this maybe once every couple weeks. I'm sure some of you guys get messages about this as well. He contacts the water department. Well, it must be usage. We did the calculation. That's more than a gallon a minute per month. That's 46,000 gallons. That's more gallons than minutes in a month. There's no way that he's got a leak like that. It's a big flat property. You would definitely know it.
Shane, do you know if he got a phone call from the city?
He did not before the auto draft occurred. It just came out of his account.
Okay.
Again, this is something that we could do proactively. And over again, I talk about proactive communication on things that impact citizens or businesses or other folks. Our city doesn't have that down yet. It's kind of the basis of customer service that you would expect from any business that you're doing business with. And we are doing business with our citizens. Our water department is a business service. We should have a good customer-centric policy. It is not hard to put in a policy that says If your water bill more than doubles, it doesn't auto draft this month until we've had a conversation. That would be a great policy. That could eliminate most of these things from happening. And if you contact them and they say, yeah, I filled up a swimming pool, that's why it's up, then you're okay. If they say, hey, what's going on? At least we didn't bill somebody because he's going to be okay. But what if this was my grandmother? What if this was somebody that couldn't afford that? This could, put somebody in a serious, serious financial bind. Again, I think that proactive communication is really, really important. And I think our citizens would be very grateful. When I've designed technology around billing systems in the past, those were the kinds of things we'd put into place. It's just metrics that say, has this changed? And also, this is more evidence that our water meters aren't working correctly.
Do you have an address you could share with us?
I could do that offline.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I know that there are policies and procedures in how they handle that exact scenario. So
Right,
I want
right.
to see if that was actually followed.
Okay,
So, thank
yeah,
you.
well, it was exactly the first month after the meter change, and he already checked his online usage again, and it's showing double the usage still. So it's going to be another 65 units for a one-bedroom place for his next bill. A second thing I wanted to talk about is our building inspectors. I have a friend who's working on a property in town. I'm going to do a video on it probably tomorrow. It's one of the cleanest properties I've seen from a rental perspective, one of the cleanest jobs ever. One of his contractors didn't call in an inspection correctly before a rough-in occurred, and now they're trying to throw him under the bus. You have to open up all the walls. It's going to cost him a fortune to fix this, and also it's going to keep a house that would be available this week to some family to move into off the market for another month. It's very clearly the kind of thing that we could handle with just a simple go in, take a look, but instead they're wanting to push this to the extreme. And why? He says pretty clearly that it's because this person has been on videos with me before, and this particular building inspector has a real problem with me, which I've addressed to several of y'all in the past. He's going after this guy entirely because of association to me. There's no other reason. It's absurd, and it's not something that we would tolerate from anybody else. I think that kind of behavior has to stop, and I've contacted a couple of you directly about it, but this is not okay, and if you guys can't stop it, we will.
Hey, send us that address too, Shane. I think that would be helpful for me.
Next we have Miranda Kaysen.
Hello there. Regarding the data centers, I only have 3 concerns. They're very small, but I feel like I'd feel better if they were addressed. I'm not against all data centers. Smaller ones that are actually good for, the town itself is not a problem. But I am worried with the current issues with our infrastructure regarding water. I feel like it may be a struggle to sustain said data center if we keep having the continuous issues with water that we've had for the past few years. We currently rank 6th in overall poverty in the United States, and I worry about rising electricity bills to continue to sustain the data center may impact the residents who are already financially struggling. And thirdly, I'm worried about the wildlife. I do believe there should be some form of infrastructure regarding the sound pollution that could follow not only the data centers, but the factories in town that could impact them. We're the natural state. We need to keep our wildlife safe. Most cities don't, and I worry about that. That's all.
Will you stick around for the discussion later?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Next we have Eric Weidman.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city directors, and citizens of Fort Smith. I want to talk tonight about welcoming our community, bringing Southern hospitality to board meetings. When people walk through the doors of board meetings, they're taking a step to participate in our community, share their voices, and get involved. But let's be honest, walking into an official boardroom can feel deeply intimidating. I know this firsthand. When I first started coming to these board meetings, I remember walking in the room feeling completely invisible. No one spoke to me. No one even looked at me. It was quite cold, unwelcoming atmosphere, and I definitely didn't feel like I belonged. It makes you stop and ask, are they doing this on purpose? Are they actively trying to create an intimidating, unwelcoming environment. Oops. Excuse me a second here. Even when members of the public gather the courage to stand up and speak, directors don't even often look up or make eye contact. There are no basic active listening skills in action, no head nods, no acknowledgement, no sign that anyone is actually hearing what's being said. That level of distance and indifference actively adds to the stress and frustration and isolation people are already carrying. Mental health challenges lie at the root of many problems facing our city today. And when our leaders treat residents this way, it deepens that anxiety and disencouragement. We cannot claim to work for the community while maintaining an environment that diminishes the people the moment they step up to speak. Now, after a while, things did begin to change. One person, Maggie Rice, started making me feel welcome by taking the time to speak to me when I arrived. I sincerely commend her for that. And also, I think Josh was the second person to start acknowledging me when I showed up. Maggie's kindness made a real difference in my experience here and proved just how important welcoming gestures can be. That contrast is exactly why I strongly feel about bringing genuine Southern hospitality into the space across this board. Southern hospitality isn't just a phrase, it's a practice. It's about making sure nobody feels like an outsider, taking the extra step to extend a warm hand, making people feel valued from the moment they arrive. We have an opportunity to build on an example that Maggie set, change the culture in this room, and ensure that no resident ever feels dismissed or ignored. I'd like to propose 2 simple practical steps that we can take immediately. First, designate a dedicated greeter at our board meetings, just like Sam Walton does. Someone whose sole role is to stand at the door, welcome every person that walks in, and set a supportive, accessible tone right at the start. Second, provide a simple printout at the door equipped with a QR code with one quick scan with their phone or by looking at the page. Residents can instantly access the facility layout, clear directions to the restrooms, water stations, and seating. Paperwork and logistics, step-by-step instructions on how to fill out comment cards, where to submit them, and how the agenda moves forward. Meeting flow, a quick summary of how the meeting works so guests can exactly know what to expect. When we take away the anxiety navigating a formal setting, we open the door for genuine connection, trust, and civic healing. A warm welcome, supported by a clear, accessible information, sends a clear message. We're glad you're here. Your voice matters, and we're listening. Let's lead with hospitality and show everyone that walks through these doors what our community is truly about. And I do have one kind of question. So what's up with our Arcoma water bill? I know y'all have gotten an outside enterprise or whatever you called it to mediate or moderate or whatever that was. But have they started paying their bill yet? That was months ago. Is there any progress there?
We don't have an agreement in place yet. It's still under review.
They still owe their bill. Their bill is still due.
How much is the bill now? It was $464,000 before.
I mean, if nothing happens, we're going to have to go to court. We're going to have to go to court. That's my opinion. One director's opinion.
All right. Thank y'all very much. Have a good night.
Next, we have Stephen Cox.
Good evening, Fort Smith. So first off, thanks for having the discussion tonight on the data centers. I think that's an important topic and we should look at all the pros and cons. So today I'm here to talk about flock cameras. I think that should also go into a study session if that's not already planned. There's a lot of people that have concerns about these things. Like obviously some people feel like it makes them safer and I understand that. Other people feel like it's a surveillance tool. And I don't necessarily think there's bad intent, like here in town, like I'm sure it does stop some crime. But I'm worried about what could happen years from now. Just to paint a picture, Congress passed that law with the kill switches in the cars, the facial recognition thing. And then if you, just put those two things together, like you got the flock cameras, tracking everything. I'm trying to think how to put this. Think back to like COVID times. That's a pretty divisive topic. Some people were for the lockdowns, but I would say a lot of people in this room were probably opposed. If you had those back then, they could keep tabs on whoever's leaving their house and who's not. And so I'm just saying, it's a good tool potentially, for safety. But think about, 10 years from now, whenever people keep signing off on things like this and, it gets out of control. So just think about that. And I'd like to see it on a study session. Thank you.
Next, we have Jason Skurbitz.
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me in once again. Firstly, I think I owe one of the directors here a bit of an apology for my reaction to his boneheaded vote at the end of last week's meeting. Because to be fair, I was one of the biggest decriers of that boneheaded vote. I and many others don't agree at all with the vote and or the rationale, the reasoning that he gave for it. But I do at least appreciate him stepping up and explaining himself in his weekly video on Sunday night. Yes, as I've said, and I will continue to say, it was rather lame and completely unnecessary. But hey, we can just agree to disagree on that one and move on, I suppose. Because apparently there's not jack squat we can do about it at this point. On to tonight's agenda. Item number 1. I'm no numbers wizard or an accredited professional accountant, but I'd like to think I'm a pretty decent proofreader. With that being said, just by perusing through the whole agenda, as I do pretty much every week before I come to these meetings, which is more than I can say for most of this board, I think. This legally blind guy, easily caught a mathematical or a typographical error just by skimming the numbers of item number 1 on page 6. I found it. Let's see if y'all can find it. Pertaining to item number 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, because no, I did not go back and dig through and look up the exact date, the timestamp of that particular meeting. But it was sometime this spring, March, I believe, based on the numbers that I'm seeing in item number 3 on page 32. But didn't we see where Parrot Island was way underbilled on their water bill and their usage from June of 24 through October of 25 to the tune of approximately $41 a month for approximately 16 months, not just the 3 or 4 months in 25 that's trying to be passed off right now. You be the judge. Fact check me. Look it up for yourself. But I'm pretty certain that my memory is accurate and correct on this one. There are some other discrepancies in there as well, but I've only got so much time up here. Item number 4. If we don't have enough issues with our water billing and meters already, one of the biggest potential issues and headaches that I foresee is this hybrid billing concept with the CCF and the per gallons metering running simultaneously while that's being implemented. It's going to end up being double billing. Not good. I'm not saying I have all the answers on this one, but I can guarantee you that that is going to be a major issue. Item number 5. I know they're not necessarily synonymous issues, but they are certainly related. We need to be very careful and leery and wary about how the flock cameras and data centers are implemented and expanded in our area and community. Seeing as how they're already here, and some people are all too eager to see them proliferate even more across the River Valley and beyond. Thank you for your time. From a sincere malcontent.
Next, we have Joe Elskin.
We don't have a lot. Hi, thank you for your service. A few weeks ago, I sent an email to everybody about the financial risk of data centers, because once installed, they need perpetual investors. And the article was long, and I was a little disappointed that nobody responded or indicated that they got it. So I'm hoping that that's.
It's on my to read list. So just FYI.
Thank
Joe,
you.
I did read it, and I actually did some research on the special purpose vehicle financing, and I've got it on my website now. I've put together some things. I did appreciate you sending that. I'm sorry I didn't communicate that back to
Okay.
you.
Thank you very much. That matters. So the other point would be air pollution, which is a big deal to me. For health research, they recommend 5 miles distance, and none of that is in the 2 ordinances that you all cited. That's 1,000 feet. So, for instance, the Memphis Colossus 2 is using 59 generators, and those are producing 2,500 short tons of nitrogen oxide, 4,000 tons of carbon monoxide, and 22 short tons of formaldehyde in a year's use. So that kind of air pollution frightens me. And the industrial sites would all be affected because of the 5-mile distance. I think that's enough information to let you know that I really hope that, along with the other concerns of water usage, that air pollution and the financial risk would be enough for us to really take a long look at this and set some firm parameters. Thank you for your service. Have a good night.
Next, we have Crystal Cadelli.
Good evening, Board. Again, I want to say thank you for the 5 minutes twice a month. I think that it really gives the community the opportunity to bring things to your attention. I would like to talk tonight about senior citizens and the ability to utilize our project concern in a little different way than we are now. So I would ask you to consider changing the eligibility process for project concern to better protect our seniors. The current program primarily looks at income, but I believe we need to recognize that financial hardship for seniors can look very different. Many people 65 and older are retired and living on a fixed income. Unlike someone who is still in the workforce, they may have little to no ability to earn additional income when their expenses increase. At the same time, seniors can face some of the highest necessary expenses in their household, especially when it comes to prescription medications, Medicare or supplemental insurance premiums, doctor visits, and other medical expenses. A senior citizen could be slightly above the current project concern income limit and still have very little disposable income remaining after paying for housing, food, utilities, medications, and health care. That's why I would like the board to consider adding a senior hardship provision to the project concern for residents 65 and older. And how I would like to propose this solution is keep the existing income qualification remain the same. However, if a senior is over the normal income limit, they would have the opportunity to submit a simple hardship application, documenting their necessary living expenses. Those expenses would include housing, utilities, groceries, prescription medications, medical insurance premiums, necessary out-of-pocket health costs, and transportation. If those documented essential expenses consume 60% or more of the senior's household income, they would qualify for project concern assistance. I'm asking this board to consider this proposal and policy change because it's simple. We should be taking care of our senior citizens that have spent their lives working and contributing to our community. I would also like to ask that we put the envelopes back into the monthly bills. I know it's saving us $11,000, but $11,000 compared to what we have spent over the last 3 years is nothing. We just spent $33,000 on administration search and hired the man that's been sitting in the position for 2 years, which I'm not complaining about that. I'm complaining the fact that we spent the money. So if we can spend that kind of money on something like that, we can spend money on making sure that the people that cannot drive or are not technology savvy can have access. I would also like, if the board decides to discuss and change this policy, that we send applications in the mail initially if the policy changes, and then maybe quarterly after, just so they have the ability to fill out the forms and know where to send them, have instructions, directions. So, you know, I think that we have an opportunity to help our community with the state funds. It's not asking our citizens to bear any more responsibility. We already have the funding coming from the grant, and I think we should utilize it to help the people that are in need. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Patrick McGuire.
Good evening. At last week's meeting, at the end of the meeting, George Katsabis brought up a subject of vendors not getting paid in time. And Mr. Dingman's response seemed to be one of surprise and said that he should be informed if such a thing is happening. Well, I decided to investigate this on my own. I took the paid invoices report for the month of July issued by the city, a little extensive report. I stripped out all invoices that were dated June 1 or thereafter, because this was payments in July. I expected perhaps a dozen, maybe 15 invoices dated before that. I found over 200 instead. That's 200 invoices paid outside the 30-day window. Now, some of those go back to the beginning of this year, February, March, that type of thing. But there was one vendor in particular that had invoices going back to 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2025. I'm surprised that vendor would even be willing to work for us anymore. The list is rather extensive. I have made an extra copy, which I'll give to Mr. Katsavas since he brought the subject up. And also going through this, these invoices that were paid, and again, these are the ones just outside the 30-day window, I found some questionable payments. There was an individual who got $473 for prepaid travel. Haven't got a clue what that is.
Who was it?
Chelsea King.
Chelsea King. You know that.
There were other names on there as well, but for more minor amounts, $170, that type of thing. I just basically ignored those. There was also one to Lee Kemp for $247.40.
For what?
It says other travel. I'd be curious to know what other travel warrants $247.
Wait, that was from
payment.
Parrot Island to Lee Kemp?
No, Jared, so he's talking about city. That's gonna probably
Oh,
be,
city, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
probably be the Miss Lee trip.
All right.
I mean, we all take trips. I mean,
So there's a payment to Parrot Island Park for $2,082. The ones that I found most confusing, however, were payments made to the child support entities in California, Texas, and Oklahoma. I didn't even know the city had children.
Those are garnishments, sir, for city employees that owe those funds to their, based on court order.
They were,
So
What
someone's getting their paycheck garnished, and so that check is being sent to that. Okay.
okay, like I said, seemed odd that we're making child support payments. Anyway, as I said, there's over 200 invoices on here, and I'll give a copy to Director Katsavas since he brought up the subject.
You want to share with the rest of us?
Yeah, just make a copy for all, if you would, Patrick, for all of us.
I only have one.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Okay, I thought you might.
Yeah.
And in the end, Mr. Dingman, consider yourself informed.
Next, we have Quentin Cunningham.
Hello, everybody. So, a few weeks ago, a citizen told me transparency should not be a buzzword. You know what? I agree. So, let's address some real transparency and accountability. A citizen brought concerning findings to my attention. They'd originally planned to speak tonight, but the gravity of what they discovered and just the general reading of the room, I offered to take their place to bring this to light. In the interest of decorum, I will withhold all names and titles. However, these findings do concern a sitting director and a candidate for municipal office. This board and the public need to know the facts.
Point of order. Are you discussing a pending legal action?
Nope. Nope, lawsuit has not been filed,
Okay.
so I can speak about it.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. This director has repeatedly forwarded sensitive municipal information from an official city account to an unvetted
No,
outside source.
incorrect. Public
Excuse me.
information about
Excuse
Parrot
me,
Island.
did I say your name?
Public
Did I say your
information that is
name?
available to everyone.
Did I say your name?
I did not forward. You're suing me.
I'm not suing anything.
You're filing a legal action against me.
I'm not suing anything.
Well, I never sent information that was not public to everyone.
George, may I have my time back?
You may continue. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, since the cat's out of the bag, This was sensitive municipal information from an official city account to an unvetted outside source, often within minutes of receipt. We're not talking basic correspondence. This transfer includes confidential legal advice written by Colby Rowe, internal public works line item bid breakdowns comparing vendor pricing such as Stem Brother versus Forsgren, high-level economic development strategy documents detailing over 30 million in municipal commitments, internal executive briefings on the multi-million-dollar E911 dispatch center, pre-release monthly P&L statements on Parrot Island, even private constituent communications with Phil White. I have a copy of every single email that I just mentioned in front of me. I am going to be filing it with Sherry. This was not an accident. It was not a slip-up. This was a months-long coordinated routing of city business outside secure channels. While everyday citizens, like the one who initiated the FOIA request, has to
Your
jump
wife.
through hoops,
Your wife.
doesn't matter who did it. I shouldn't have to jump through these hoops to get this information that you're freely feeding to somebody else.
You never asked me.
She didn't either. I looked at the emails, Christina, all 45 of them.
Let's return to some type of order. Would you continue, please?
Okay, making matters worse, these records almost stayed hidden because the initial production was a paltry 3 emails. It wasn't until the requester asked for an audit log that 45 more showed up.
45 that were to the entire board and had no correspondence
Christina,
from me.
Christina,
By the way, it was an email to the entire board.
Please,
It was
let's-
an email exchange
please,
between Jeff Dingman
please.
and the person you requested about. It had
Yes.
nothing to do with me. I was not on that email.
Let's,
from
you have a
Christina,
chance to respond.
from Christina Katsavis, Sunday, November 9th, 2025, 6:16 PM, to the unnamed third party, you sent the 911 radio system and Motorola agreement that Jeff had prepared.
That was a public document that was in the agenda
You still
packet.
sent it to her with, again, I
Please.
shouldn't have to jump through these hoops.
Isn't
Point of
all
order.
documents in our email public?
Yes.
They are public, yes, but what I'm saying is, if I have to file a FOIA request for it, and this person does not, is that not a little bit of favoritism? Is that not worth bringing up?
information to anyone that asks me.
Then why have you never responded to any of the emails you gave me, or I've sent you until I called you out directly?
Come on, let's please have
Mayor,
some
I
order.
want to respond to this.
Go ahead.
No, when you're done, I will
You-
respond. This
you
is
may continue.
nonsense.
Okay, well, for full disclosure, the citizen who brought this forward has filed an active AEC complaint. However, they do have the right to discuss it. You
Thank you.
would probably be in your best interest to keep quiet about it
Thank you.
while
Thank
the
you for the
investigation
legal
unfolds.
advice.
Thank you.
Are you
Thank
an
you.
attorney? Where did you get your law degree?
Been in law for 8 years, honey. I don't need to answer anything.
Without
for
a
you.
law degree?
I don't need to answer anything for you.
Yes.
No, I'm going to
Go ahead.
respond to this. Quentin Cunningham is a candidate for the position 5 seat who's running against Ms. Cadelli, who's the person he has named.
I did.
From time to time, I have sent Ms. Cadelli financials about Parrot Island and other,
Who?
as I have any citizen who has asked about quarterly financials, audit reports, that is all public information. The assertion that I have sent classified documents is ridiculous. You know, this is political retribution. The wife of a political candidate has filed a FOIA request for information on his opponent.
So
And
according,
no, you're done.
Mr.
And is
Cunningham,
Arkansas
requesting
Ethics Commission
information
laws.
about my
Mr. Cunningham,
campaign,
your time has
which is
expired.
not public. He's requesting information about my campaign, my voter data, which I've paid for, and he has not. He's not getting that for free.
I have not asked for that.
Yes, you have. You
Christina.
have asked for any political communication regarding my mayoral campaign and her campaign against you.
Please, let's
Please
have,
drop it.
let's have some type of
Drop it.
order,
Let's drop it.
please.
No, somebody doesn't get to come up here and tell lies about me and me not defend myself. He is out of order. He got to speak. He's done. If he's going to continue, I would ask him to be removed. And I will say the basis of their argument for the FOIA request is they're using a FOIA request that I filed months ago asking for information on Director Kemp using city property, taxpayer-funded property, to host private parties for free. They're using that against me. I have done nothing wrong. Ms. Cadelli has done nothing wrong by requesting information that I've given to a lot of people that is in our agenda packet. So they're now using this legitimate FOIA request as the foundation to demand records related to my mayoral campaign and Ms. Cadelli's campaign, two campaigns with no connection to each other and no connection to the original FOIA request about Director Kemp's use of taxpayer-funded facilities for his own purposes. This is my very public punishment for fighting corruption. This is political theater, and I'm not going to stand for it. I'm not going to have my reputation harmed by someone who is seeking political retribution against someone I'm not even running against. That's all I'm going to say about it. I suppose you all will read the rest when the court filing happens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Sherry, how many folks do we have left?
Just one more.
Did you have a request? Okay. Madam Clerk?
And last, we have Glenn Forte. Glenn Forte, oh, there you are.
Always nice. And I get shit on.
I'm sorry.
And I'm tired of it. That's why I'm here. And you talk about corruption?
Please,
Listen to this.
please address the board, would you?
I got a citation back on 2/12 of 26, 9:03 a.m. for speeding on Wheeler Avenue. The officer was inside Dollar General parking lot. Vehicles were obstructing his vehicle. I didn't know where he came from. And the bushes are so high there, you can't see him in there. He should not be in the business writing tickets or running radar and chasing people on a main thoroughfare of Wheeler. I wasn't speeding. I pleaded not guilty. And they told me today I'm going to get a surcharge on my insurance because I'm guilty. I'm not guilty. And I'm filing a grievance with the Attorney General because I'm tired of you people corruption. Thank you.
That's all for citizens forum.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. This time we will go to the first item on our agenda this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item this evening is the second quarter budget review related to the city's overall 2026 budget, reporting revenues and expenses through June the 30th, 2026. This report was distributed to the board on July 31 and included in the agenda packet for tonight's discussion. Chief Financial Officer Andy Richards will go through the report and answer questions from the board.
Just a few takeaways overall about the financial condition of the city as of June 30, 2026. It's part of the interim financial report that we put out on the website and sent out to the board of directors probably a couple weeks ago. But, overall general fund, we've seen improvement in the operating deficit that we saw, from a year ago, fiscal year 25, a lot of improvement from first half of this year compared to the first half of last year. Street maintenance, operating results are improved overall, but maintaining pretty stable in the street maintenance fund. Water and sewer fund continues to see increased working capital there, and solid waste as well. We've seen an improvement in the operating performance with an increase in revenues. Reserve positions are improving or maintaining for street maintenance fund, but we see improvement in our contingency reserve percentages across all four funds. And so kind of in overall, compared to this time last year, we've come stronger as far as liquidity and reserve position. We continue to look at general fund expenditures and managing that budget, as well as the water and sewer fund. So if you look at probably just beginning with the general fund, it's on page 2 of the report. We're seeing, 4% growth in total revenues for general fund revenues. Sales tax is good. It's up 5%, 4%. Total taxes and assessments, which includes franchise fee taxes and property taxes as well. We've seen sliding increases there.
I did have a question on there's 57% of our revenue budget available, which would tell me we've got lagging revenue. Is that normally how, I know we're higher than we were in 25, but is it normally how it works is we get 50 the remaining revenue in the second half of the year? Is that a normal thing?
I think it is. Your point being made that percentage available, for revenues is a little
low.
Percentage available of budget is really meant for the expenditure lines. What you would like to see at June 30th, 6 months, halfway through the year, if you're considering everything flat, straight line, month to month, your revenues, you want that percentage to be 50 and below.
Right.
That means you're making more than you projected, those things, but we've got things like the property tax revenues, a big part of that will come in,
Go up.
Towards, in the fall. So it's not a straight earning.
So that'll come in the fall.
Right.
There you go. Thank you.
We get towards the end of the holiday season, sales tax revenues will jump.
Well, then property tax
So
were raised
yes.
By the county, I think.
So
It's October, right?
what's that?
Property tax, it's October, correct?
That's correct. We get those distributions in November and December. That's when the big ones come in. But, so that it looks like we're behind, but if you look at what we were doing compared to 25, we're ahead of where we were in 25. So I think that's positive. The operating expenditures are down 18% compared to 25. We went through that mid-year, kind of revamped the budget and made some cuts last year at this point, and then continued to work on the 26 budget in the fall. So you're seeing the results of that, 18% down there. So overall in the general fund, we ended up with, at this point, $24.4 million in the fund balance with a 37.5% contingency reserve percentages. I still keep my eye on the amended column, which is kind of our projected end of year numbers. So we're still projected to end at a 30.7% reserve percentage, which is almost $20 million in fund balance for the year. That's the projection. So as long as we can maintain that, I think we'll have even better results. But did want to point out, we pay attention to the operating excess or deficiency over revenues over expenditures. And so at this point,
We're having a discussion over here. I might as well tell the public what we're talking about. Neil and I are discussing, is 30.7% what's projected at the end of the year or 37.5%?
30.7% projected at the end of the year. At this point, the fund balance that we have today represents 37.5%.
So you expect so you expect 7% to get drawn out. So we're going to be almost close to what the 2025 actual number would be.
Right.
Okay.
But that's a lot of, because of those capital outlays that you see, we have $10 million in capital outlay budgeted. At this point, we've only spent $2.1 million.
I don't recall $10 million in capital outlays when we passed that budget. Seems high to me.
When you passed the budget, it was 2.5.
It includes the carryovers? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a large chunk of that is the transit projects, which also, there's $5.1 million in transit capital revenues budgeted to offset that. that number. You see that right above the capital outlay. But a large portion of that is, going to be funded by federal revenues that will get reimbursed. The solar project that was carried over, 2.6 million that was carried over, and additional appropriations to finish Parrot Island.
Let me ask a question. When you talk about the transit, do you account for the transit in a revenue before we expend it out in the way you look at the budget? Do you pull in the revenue and then you send the expenditure later? Or do you wait till they both hit the same time and you bring them both in?
We try to match revenues with expenditures.
So when you get the grant from the feds, we'll match that when the expenditures go
Yeah.
out. Okay.
We try to estimate what which we pretty much know most times what the reimbursement is.
Okay.
Sometimes it changes, but for the most part, we know what it is.
Okay, thank you.
I think, the street maintenance fund is pretty consistent. We did cut the budget, we're seeing improvements there, maintaining 70% reserve. I'd like to talk about water and sewer for a little bit. So we've got an 8.5% increase in revenues overall, compared to this point last month. Last year, 6 months in, we got a 3% increase in volume and billings, 8% increase in billing revenue.
Well, Andy, how much, 8% is, how much to translate that into dollars?
It's about $3 million increase.
2.7.
$3 million increase?
Yeah,
Okay,
roughly.
thank you.
And then the expenditures were showing a 24% increase compared to last year. There's an issue of timing in there I want to point out. It has to do with the debt service transfers that we're making to the revenue bonds. So those we're transferring more funds earlier in the year, not flat, like we like to do. And we're going to try to change, fix that. But there's about $2.5 million worth of debt service transfers that we made through June 30, that if we made the same amount every month, it's about a $2.5 million difference. So that the increase in expenditures is actually kind of inflated because of those transfers. So, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, or if you have a question about it, I'll answer it now. So actually, despite that, we had a $1.8 million increase in working capital since the beginning of the year, and a 44.3% reserve percentage at this point. We're still projected to be at a 41.7% reserve at the end of the year. And so one of the things I would like to recommend or bring to the board here, pretty soon, is to transfer some of that operating working capital into the capital improvement fund to help fund water projects. So, by looking at the what we're projected to have at the end, $30.1 million, we could adjust that down to where we'd have a 30% reserve left in the operating fund and transfer about $8.5 million over to water fund.
So what does that do to our debt service coverage ratio?
Nothing. The transfers over to that doesn't affect that net revenue calculation.
Okay. And just for everybody's benefit, that debt service coverage ratio was the amount of money that we have on hand to be able to pay our debt service, which it's got to meet a certain threshold, or
Right.
bondholders say you have to raise rates.
Yeah.
Which is what we faced in 24.
Yeah.
That's why the rate.
So Neil, we're meeting the 110%
Well,
requirement,
so
right?
I want to get down. Are you there where we can talk about that?
The 110% requirement.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
So I see you, sorry, Jared. I see that you've got it projected at 99.5%. I really had a question about that. Can you, because that would tell me we got a problem. You see, I hear the numbers wrong. Is the number wrong?
I think the numbers that are in our budget are low. We have additional, at the end of the year, we have additional revenues that we'll be able to account on top of that, typically when we get to the end of the year and go through the audit, make the end of year accruals and count the additional income that we have in the capital fund and the bond funds, that usually adds about 10% to that figure. It looks close, and I think we should manage that expenditures the rest of the way. But we've kind of been in that position. The budget's kind of been that way the past couple of years, and we've actually ended up with pretty good debt service coverage.
It has, but comparing it to 25, we were at 118% at this same point.
Yeah, but but that was actual, not the projected. We're 118 at 25. In 26, we're at 143.
Okay,
so we're over 20% ahead of what we were.
So really, in this, I would compare the FY26 actuals to which is a estimate. It's what we're projecting out.
These interim calculations are not very precise. It's just trying to give us some type of compass to see what's happening.
We would compare that FY26 actuals, which is the projection, to the FY25 actuals.
Yeah.
Okay. So George, even though it says 99.5, what I'm hearing from Andy is getting that number is difficult because revenues are going to come in later, that we should be significantly higher than that. We should project at about 143, which keeps us safe from that debt service coverage ratio falling below the threshold.
That's fine.
So that's
The budget for June 30, 2025 at this point, the same report last year showed at 80%.
80? Okay, so that's where it ended? Okay.
And we ended up at 143 after we got to the end of the year.
This is just the one that scares me the most, that those revenue, the timeline of those revenues are concerning to me, that makes me nervous. So I just want to make sure that I'm not nervous.
I think at this point,
Well, even last year at the budget meeting, I think we were looking at like 89% debt service coverage.
Yeah.
And then we far exceeded that.
well, we started cutting expenditures. We've had a couple, we did the sewer rate increase was a 3.5% in July. There's been 2 sewer rate increases since June 30 of last year. So it was one July 1st that went into effect, and it was one at January 1. Okay. At this point, I'm not real concerned about meeting the minimal debt service coverage. At this point, we're the goal is to generate some money that we can actually make water improvements with. That's the goal now.
So Andy, I heard you say we trimmed expenditures. I like that. So in your professional opinion, because I want you on the record, would you say that trimming expenditures has improved our financial position?
We've done both, but yes, it has.
Okay, thank you.
Will we have a better handle on that debt service coverage ratio at the end of September?
Yes.
Okay. So
it'll continue to improve.
It'll get refined and get more accurate. Okay. All right. Okay, that's all I got right now.
So anyway, in a near board meeting, I'll probably bring a request to appropriate $8.5 million to go over to water for capital at this point, based upon what the numbers look like now.
Well, Andy, thank you for bringing that recommendation to us in the future, because as we all know and recognize, there's a lot of water system capital needs, and finding ways to utilize money that we already have and maintain to make that work the best for us is a good thing for us to consider. So thank you.
Yes. Go on to the solid waste fund. So we're seeing a 22% increase in revenues overall, which is helping generate a $2.2 million operating excess compared to negative $114,000. Just the expenditures have stayed flat, basically a 0.9% increase. So, our contingency reserve is at 50%. The key with solid waste is, our future capital needs for the landfill. We've got, we need to do, generate some capital funds out of the revenues here to fund the cap and the cell expansion at the landfill. There's going to be some big charges that are coming up in the next couple of years. So, these are positive results that'll help us in the future. I want to go over the water split report briefly and talk about this debt service transfer timing thing that I mentioned on the water and sewer fund. So, we do this allocation between water and sewer to give us an idea of how's water side revenues versus the allocated expenses compared to sewer. So for the June 30, 2026, we out of that $1.8 million excess overall, this showed a negative $720,000 for water and a $2.5 million surplus for sewer. So that debt service transfer is primarily allocated to the water side because the debt, those revenue bonds majorly fund the water projects. So they cover most of that transfer. So if I factor in what I'm saying is probably a timing difference of about $2.5 million, $1.5 million of that is attributed to water and about $920,000 is attributed to sewer. So if I adjust for that, I would show $137,000 surplus for water and a $3.5 million surplus for sewer, and overall about a $4.3 million surplus. That's just a timing issue. That will, as we continue to make the debt transfer payments monthly over time, I think when we get to September, we'll stop making those transfers because we'll have fully funded our annual debt service at that point. So that will even out in the actual reports when we get to that point. So I just wanted to point that out to you. I've probably talked enough. I answered your questions or have your discussion, or is there anything else you want me to respond to?
Director George Casavage.
Andy, can you tell me, out of the general fund, we cut the police and fire department a while back, their budget, or cut. How much has that saved us? Can you tell by now, or do you have to look it up?
Let me go back and let me look at this and see if I can.
I just want to see what kind of amount it's saving.
It looks like, we were at $2.5 million in police expenses last year.
Mm-hmm.
About 800 of that was the 911 dispatch. So that got moved out. So you kind of have to back that out of that.
Okay. What about cutting? What about the hiring freeze and cutting the manpower for the police?
It is definitely helping.
Okay. How much help?
I think it's probably about $700,000 at this point, which is my guess, because I think we estimated that cut would save us about $1 million or $1.4 million.
Just from the cuts that the board enacted for the police and fire.
Yeah. But we're not at this point. We're at 1.7 for 26. You back out the 800,000 at 2.4. We may have saved $200,000 or $300,000 on police.
On police.
Yeah.
Just police.
If I try to line up apples to apples comparison.
Yeah. Let me ask one more question. Before you became CFO, the city had a bad habit of transferring money from one department to another, parks to utility streets to this. Is that still going on?
No, that is against our fiscal policy.
That went on before. Before you got here.
Okay. Well, any transfer that's made that's not interdepartmental is an appropriation that comes to the board. Yes.
So if they wanted to say, if utilities wanted to take $1 million from sanitation, that would have to come to the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, George, that's the reason we passed those policies years ago. But that's the place.
Well, yeah, years ago it was Katie bar the door. They transfer money everywhere.
Yeah, but that's the reason the board that you were part of and
there are cases where we have to, one's got to reimburse the other for some expenditures and those type of things, but to just move funds out of one department into another is not our fiscal policy.
Okay.
We don't, the authority at that level is at your level, the board level.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Neil Martin.
No, Mayor, I'll save it for later.
Any other comment from the board? Andy, overall, what kind of financial condition are we in? Great shape, good shape? How we stand? Just
Our current operating is in good shape. We're still working on these long-term planning that we need to do. We still have those challenges, but, the finances at June 30 compared to this time last year are great.
okay. Thank you. This time we'll go to item 2 on the agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of Directors did not approve a comprehensive multi-year capital improvement program for the water utility in 2026 due to uncertainty of funding sources. The status, which remains for future years, will be helped by some of the comments that Andy made, what we'll see in the next few months, or next few weeks, I'm sorry. Instead, an initial set of projects to accomplish the 2026 was adopted in March. As the years progressed, additional projects and realization of project funds allows us to bring an additional set of projects forward for funding in 2026 still. Projects totaling $7.1 million have been identified for funding in this second half of 2026, including water tank painting and neighborhood water system improvements. Director of Engineering Todd Mitke will further address this item and answer questions from the board.
Thank you. You recognize Todd.
Thank you, City Administrator Dingman. I appreciate that. So we bring before you several items on the CIP, what we call the mini CIP number 2. This is following up on 3 items on mini CIP number 1, that 2 of which are under construction right now. These next 7 items, I'm going to go through the tanks basically all at once. I'll tell you a little bit about that, but for the loose tank, which is up above target, it's 7.5 million gallons. The country club tank, which is approximately 250,000 gallons, is going to undergo the same process, and also the Pence tank, which is 88,000 gallons, is going to undergo the same process. We intend to strip the paint from the inside and outside of the tank to make any repairs to the tank walls that are found and deemed necessary. This would be areas of deep rust and thinned out metal. Anything that needs to be brought up to the new code. Here's a loose tank here. I'm going to bring up a short presentation. Anything that needs to be brought up to the new code requirements from the Arkansas Department of Health based on AWWA requirements will be done at this time. Once that is complete, we will repaint. A mechanical mixer will be installed, which the Department of Health now requires to increase water quality due to our water temperatures. The tank will then be disinfected and filled. It will be tested for total coliform bacteria, and that bacteria is common in surface water and in the streams and lakes, and could potentially indicate potential presence of disease-causing bacteria in water. So we disinfect for those. That's why we chlorinate our water. Once the tank passes, the chlorine levels are lowered to approximately below 4 parts per million, which is the limit. And then the tank will be placed back in service. So this is what you see before you and in your presentation on your desk is the loose tank. You can see behind the fence here, it's been a long time coming that this is cleaned and painted. And this is approximately 7.5 million gallons. Engineer's estimate for this for stripping and painting is 2.25 million based on an approximate cost per gallon. This is the Country Club elevated tank, kind of near the Acme site. And we get a lot of comments on why is this look so horrible? Well, we're going to fix it. A lot of this is the temperature of our water is cold and outside is very hot. So the condensation creates this scrub that needs to be scrubbed. It's approximately $500,000 to strip and repaint this. Once we get into it, and especially in the inside of the tank, you see any potential rust that has to be repaired. There's contingencies in there for this. So based on the bidding environment for this type of work, we may see higher prices, we may see lower prices. This is the Pence tank standpipe. This up near Mountberg. So we have some commitments to Chester and where does the train go from Van Buren? Winslow, thank you. Chester and Winslow have our customers from when we built the lake, that we built the standpipe, and it needs attention too. So it's a lot less money, but it's a lot smaller of a tank too. but you can see the black on the bottom of that tank too. We also have approximately $3 million in congressional directed spending, which is the new term for earmarks, federal earmarks.
Who'd that come from?
That comes from Congressman Womack.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And it has a $600,000 match, a 20% local match on this. And these are galvanized pipes that you see. We have several in service in the city of Fort Smith, and our plan is to eliminate those through a series of many projects, but this is the first one that we have money for. It's approximately 1,100 linear feet of galvanized steel and undersized water mains, which is 2 inches or less. We want to increase to a minimum of 6 inches. And you can see these are dried out, and when they're wet, this is all solid in there, it restricts the flow of the pipe considerably. And so galvanized was an effective water pipe back in the 40s and 50s, way better than lead, but they are outdated now and we need to invest to fund them. So our engineering team, in cooperation with several consultants, have designed a series of projects. The first one is $3 million, and this is on the CIP. Emergency neighborhood water system improvements. This is a amount for possibly 3, hopefully more potential emergency type projects that come up. This here is the railroad tracks on Spradling Avenue near Midland, and Public Works found a leak on this, basically where that blue box is, that they can't fix with their tools. It's the boring needed to go into the tracks is just too great for our crews to handle. So we have several of these come up every year. In fact, 2 weeks ago, we got another one. This one here on Spradling is about $300,000 to fix. And we need a spot in the CIP to be able to be reactive to these so that they can be fixed and we don't lose any unnecessary water. These next two are really fun ones for me. This is the transmission line phase 5. So the Defense Community Improvement Process is a grant that's available that we applied for in June through the Defense Community, and it's the OLDCC, Office of, I should have written it down.
Local Defense Community Cooperation.
Thank you. The OLDCC is the administrator of this grant, and we have a pretty good chance we should hear next week or the week after if we got this approximately $13 million grant. But we found down by Fort Chaffee, who is currently served by an 18-inch cast iron line. And much like galvanized, cast iron was very common years ago, but it's very brittle and it's easy to break. And so we want to replace that. And in tune with this would also replace 1.6 miles of our transmission line. So we've tried to get very creative with going after grants that can do, put two heads together, for instance. So here, 2 heads are better than 1. We can both improve water quality and quantity to Fort Chaffee, which increases our level of service to our defense counterparts, and it gets 1.6 miles built at very little cost to us on the end of our transmission line. So this includes our estimate of $12.884 million, and what's not included is the soft costs, which I've put in approximately $2 million. This is the design for this project, which has to be designed quickly, and right-of-way, potential easements, and other soft costs that come up that the grant does not cover. If we do win this grant, our design will also start on the Chad Colley Boulevard portion, from where the boulevard portion ends down to Mazard and beyond. So I'm really excited about that because that's a long time coming to get that mobility improvement through here. Our designer will be the same one for the road as is designing the water main, so we can save money and coordination time there. This last is the transmission line phase 2A1 up near the Frog Bayou, and this will install approximately 1.5 miles of 48-inch steel casing up in Crawford County. This is a congressional directed spending from Senator Bozeman, and we are ready to start as soon as we can on this. I have filled in here $500,000 as a reserve amount of local funds for contingency. When my direction to the designer is come to us with a $12 million project. And I wanted to bid at that, but you know how the bidding might be less, might be more. We're also looking at alternative bid ideas for this, for possibly a design build that could more solidify our costs, that provide less uncertainty, because with these very, very large steel casings and the uncertainty with the war in Iran and things like that, we have seen costs up and down depending on that. So we have this project, and that is the last one I have. Any questions you may have on this?
Director Neil Martin, and then we'll go to Director George Cassatt.
So is that $3 million from Congressman Womack already been awarded?
Yes, it has been awarded, but it has not.
It's been awarded.
It's not in the account yet.
Okay.
For instance.
Has that 12 million from Bozeman been awarded?
Yes.
Okay. So when we make requests to our senators and congressmen, that's a good thing, right?
Very good.
Okay.
And they like us spending it too.
I 100% they do. And they're helpful to us, you know, so I'm very appreciative of those two. Cotton as well. I mean, just because we don't have one here, he doesn't do congressionally directed spending, but I mean, he's been instrumental in the FMS mission. So all three of those guys have done a tremendous amount of work for us, and Westerman. And so it's good to make sure we meet with these guys here and there, and continue to express our needs to them, and they'll help us wherever they can. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
When will we know about that 12.8 million?
Should be in a week or two.
In a week or two?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good. What brings you so much confidence that we'll get this one?
They like Fort Smith. We got two bases.
Okay.
We got Army and Air Force.
Who's helping us secure this OLDCC?
We have worked with the Roosevelt Group.
Oh, the Roosevelt Group.
Yes, sir.
Taryn Judd.
Yes.
Okay. Who I think we met with when we were in DC. So that would be, if I know Taryn's listening, so that would be very good.
He's been a great help, and
Yep.
he came to Fort Smith in person to finalize ideas for our grant proposal. We did the grant proposal, but he brought a lot of good ideas to us.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Taryn. Appreciate it.
Director George Cassatt.
Todd, just two quick questions. Are any of these tanks that you mentioned leaking now?
I do not know of any of them leaking. They have condensation just from the humidity and that condensate, but I don't know of any leaks on them.
So let me see. These tanks are for pressure regulation of water.
Yes, storage and pressure regulation. We have several pressure planes in the city, mostly due to where these tanks are
So when you
placed.
drain this 7.5 million gallon loose tank, what's going to happen to the pressure in that area?
Can you repeat that last part of that question?
When you drain this tank to paint the inside out, what's going to happen to the pressure?
Well, we're going to do it in the wintertime when we don't need as much quantity for irrigation, but we're going to have to turn on some pumps, and this location here, in the wintertime, we don't have as much draw on it. So we can time that pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
Director Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Todd, for you and your team and what y'all are doing. The question I had is, after we get these tanks in a status of back in a good operable condition, can we ensure that we put these on like a cleaning rotation? Would it have helped if the city would put those on a rotation of cleaning? I know the one in Vienna Hills, we've done that, and the city's done that, and it continues to seem to be in a good shape. And I know that it was like after a few years, because it didn't need repainting, we were able to clean it again. If these get renovated and done, can we put a cleaning rotation on the outside of them?
I think we should, and if we have the funds, we definitely should do that on a 10 to 20 year rotation, depending on the size of the tank and how much water goes through them. Because a lot of times, like the loose tank, for instance, doesn't have a whole lot in the wintertime, but it does have a fair draw, and it's important for fire flows for ebbing also. But yeah, in answer to your question, I think, especially if we have a water fund balance that can handle that, we need to have enough to do painting every 10 to 20 years, because I think it's been longer than that for these.
Yeah, and I think for those paint jobs to hold up, a rotation of however many we think we can fit within a balanced budget, but taking and cleaning one or two, and then in a couple years doing another one or two, knowing that we're getting to them before they get so derelict. Yeah.
I agree.
Director Settle?
Thank you, Mayor. Todd, you were not here, but the board, I believe, passed an ordinance that allows for advertisements on the water tanks, i.e. our best tank. Have we been approached, or have we approached anybody potentially sharing some of this cost to put their name on some of these towers? I look at this one and I obviously think the obvious, Target's there, a Target above, but that's, I mean, have we even thought about approaching companies to see if they'd be willing to help share the cost of painting?
We have, yes, and Target is especially. I'd love to have a nice big Target on that. And
I mean, it just kind of makes sense, but okay. As long as we're doing that, I appreciate the reach out to all the companies and see if we can reduce the cost. Thank you.
Is anybody interested?
I have not personally asked them. I haven't had the time to do that, but that's on our list to do.
It'd be a good thing to put out there on social media, Josh.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you.
Could we get a motion to put this on the next week's agenda for consideration?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 3.
Thank you, Mayor. The board requested a discussion of 3 different items related to water. First is a discussion about the bulk water filling stations that currently operate at both the Lake Fort Smith and Lee Creek water treatment plants. These stations are not set up to be free water stations, but as they operate on the honor system, there is no real accurate way to determine who and how many users depend on them as their water source. Public Works placed a sign at the Lake Fort Smith location asking persons that use it to call the office. 72 unique individuals have called so far to say that they depend on the fill station. Public Works is working to identify a coin-operated system for dispensing bulk water. Director of Public Works, Matt Meeker, is here to further address questions if you may have them. Matt?
I'm here to answer any questions on this. Joshua Robertson's also here to answer questions, and so I'll open it up.
Okay, Director George Cassatt.
Matthew,
Yes, sir.
this was brought to my attention a few months ago. I've never heard of this. I've heard of this. But Mountainburg, they're not responsible for this, is it? It's not their water.
No, I mean, it's on our system.
Yeah, it's on our
the city
system.
And it comes out, so, yeah, it comes right out of the plant there at Mountainburg.
So-
It's right outside the fence.
So John Doe drives up with his 8,000-gallon water tank, fills it up, and drives off. What happened? I mean, we're losing money.
Well, there's nothing, I mean, that potentially could happen. So I've had cameras out there and I've been looking and watching, like for the last 3 weeks, for instance, most people are paying. By my count, from what I could see from the cameras I put out there, it looks like about 78% of the people were paying and the rest aren't. Now, granted, it could be a little bit higher than that because some of the people appear to be paying once, but then not paying again. So they may be paying for 2 trips or something.
Right.
Then again, there's other people I've talked to there that are under the impression that it operates under a donation system for whatever reason. And of course,
Donation?
I tell them that's not the case.
No. So how are we going to fix this?
How are we going to fix it?
Yeah,
So the
how we-
idea was, we are looking at a pay system. As a matter of fact, we've already put in the order. Basically, it's a coin-op type system. And so we're going to have 2 of them for up there, one for a low flow and one for a high flow, one to dispense 5 gallons and one to dispense 250 gallons. And so I know Jeff had put that in the memo, and he mentioned there in that one memo that it was a credit card only system. I think that one was a little bit cheaper. It was showing like $2,600. The one that's coin op is around $4,700. And so I said we have to have 2 of them. So times the 2 of them plus shipping, freight, and all that, it's going to be about $10,300 to install them. But I think we should recover that cost within a year.
Okay.
Just on operation.
So we don't know actually how many gallons of water are used a year out there.
So they're using about 1.2 million gallons a year is what they're
1.2 million.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's get to Parrot Island.
I'll have to defer to Josh on that.
Yeah, let me talk to Josh.
Just by way of introduction, this is the second discussion about the water billing at Parrot Island Waterpark, the regular billing for water use during the operations operating season has been part of the park's regular operating budget since at least 2016. The meter was replaced in October of 2025. Regular billing for water consumption has resumed. Joshua Robinson is here to address specific
Josh, they
questions.
went for months paying $40 a month. Why didn't somebody catch this at the city?
In our previous process that we've changed since that time, we've changed our reread process to start catching those things. So ever since the reorganization, the reread process came more under my department, and been working with Matt on to catch those things a lot sooner.
So do you know what their current bill is running right now?
Yeah, I mean, so their last charge was $5,050.04.
But boy, they were getting away with that. They had a good deal going. Man, I mean, okay. What about the at a Ben Guerin, there was meters that were bypassed. Did y'all
If I could address this item, this
one-
discussion about unauthorized water use at specific locations, working through inspections
Yeah.
of those several large water users, Public Works staff discovered instances where bypasses were still valved on, allowing bypass of the water meter, and other instances where water was being used without a meter in place. Those situations have been addressed and corrected. Staff continues to evaluate connections to ensure that everything is being properly metered. Mr. Meeker can address.
So
any
Matt, you were
questions.
involved in that,
Yes.
and you found the bypass. You ripped them
My,
out.
my staff found the bypasses, yes, and they have been removed.
So they were getting free water too, essentially.
Yes, we discovered that on October 15th. It looks like sometime around April, May of 2025. Apparently, the bypasses were turned on and the meters were turned off.
Yeah.
And
Can we prosecute over that?
I'm not an attorney. You'd have to defer to the attorney.
I mean,
on it.
that's theft.
I
I mean,
I don't want to.
if somebody, if the homeowner did
say
that,
that, but yeah, it certainly has the appearance of that because, you
well,
know,
yeah.
2 weeks later, on October 28th, our staff went back out there and the meters were turned back off and the bypasses were turned back on.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Yeah. You know, I just wonder how many millions of dollars we've lost over the years with stuff like this going on. It just blows my mind.
we fix it when we find it, so.
I know you do, and I compliment you. You've done a good job on the water leaks. That saved us money. I mean, I hope we continue to clamp down on this. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Director Settle.
Matt? Can you go back to page 29 slide? So the coin-operated meter you're going to put out there, do you know roughly what you're going to charge per? I mean, I know that as long as I've been on the board, that's been out there.
Right.
I mean,
And so currently what they're being charged is basically anything from 1 gallon up to 55 gallons is a quarter.
yeah.
And then it's, you know, it goes for a 250 gallon totes, $1, you know, and it goes for $1 per 250 gallons up to $8 for 2,000.
So are we going
So-
to charge appropriate dollars?
My plan for that was to continue on, because we'll have basically two dispensing volumes. So like 5 gallons for the folks, because there's quite a few that come up there with jugs and everything. And then 250 gallons for those that are come with totes, because we got a bunch of those. So I'm still thinking, you know, a quarter is still within a realm for 5 gallons. That's over, you know. But $5, I think, is more reasonable for 250. And how I came up with that is that a residential customer in Fort Smith, they're going to pay somewhere between $1.56 to $3.30 for 250 gallons of water.
Okay.
By calculation, depending on how much they purchase. Other people out there, rural water users, I'm on a rural water users association. I looked at my bill. I pay $4.22 for 250 gallons of water.
Okay.
So $5 for 250 gallons of water seems reasonable, especially considering we got to recover electricity costs and the cost of the equipment.
I just know that there's a lot of people up in that area that bring up the big totes, fill them up, and that's their only source of water. They don't have any water anywhere else but those totes. So as long as we're having a way to supply water to those people at an appropriate fee, I'm good with that.
They need the water, but I feel like that's also a reasonable charge too.
Okay, thank
So,
you. To Jeff administration, let me go back to the other subject. So do we charge water to Creekmore Park? Do we charge the water Creekmore Park pool uses?
No, we don't.
So Creekmore Park gets free water the whole time?
Kevin, that's two different businesses.
It's, well, George, it's
I mean-
not. It's water's water. Water's
No,
water.
no.
Just let me finish, George. Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, it's my
I'm
turn.
sorry. Go ahead.
Do we charge any city and municipal building water?
No, we don't.
Okay. Water's water.
But I'm saying the water park is managed by a private company, not
But
the city.
it's our asset. It's our asset.
How do you show the correct
Look, George-
profit and loss if they're not paying for water
Yeah, but
or
George,
any
We
utility?
charge water to the schools.
we charge, if we're gonna charge water, and let me just say this, Parrot Island pays their water bill through the season. Creekmore Park Pool pays zero through the season.
But the city runs it. They're not running Parrot Island.
It is still a city asset. We own it. No difference is we own the convention center and they get free water too.
Well,
Thank you, Mayor.
That's
Okay,
fine.
thank
I'm
you.
good.
Director Rego, you're right.
Thanks, Mayor. I know we're bouncing around, but I just, back to the issue about this water filling at Mountainburg. I mean, if there's talks about adjusting the rate structure that's been in place there for a while and moving into some sort of metered system away from an honor system, that's something I suppose we can consider. But, I mean, first of all, I'm impressed that of 72 people that were observed utilizing this system, which just to read it out from the memo, these fill stations are used by area residents who, quote, do not have sufficient water supply at their rural properties and depend on these stations for their potable water. I mean, that's quite a living, that these people are trying to eke out. And 78% of these folks still utilize the honor system. And, the figure that was tossed around about, 1.2 million gallons, I mean, based on the rates here, at the risk of doing public math, if a full 1.2 million gallons was lost at these rates, I think it's like $4,800. So we want to be mindful of our resource, but I think we also need to be mindful of the human beings involved that are acquiring water in a way that I think the vast majority of us have no experience with, no history with, and are fortunate enough to not have to do it. And so certainly aligning rates probably to where the costs of delivery and treatment are more accurately reflected. But I would not be in favor of fully moving away from having this station available for people. Thank you.
Thank you.
What does Matt need from us? Do you feel like you got direction?
Well, I guess some concurrence on what we should charge. It would be best to have a formal adoption on what to charge.
I feel like I would make a motion for city administration to put forth a rate. And again, I'm with you on that $5. I think the water is the commodity. If we didn't have customers outside of Fort Smith, we wouldn't be having discussions we'd be working on the transmission line, but we wouldn't have any issues in the summertime related to any need of water conservation, which we're not, but that happens from time to time. So I'm for a rate that is appropriate for folks outside of Fort Smith, to where it limits the impact on the citizens of Fort Smith.
So just to throw this out there so y'all know how often it's being used too. In the last 3 weeks, there were basically 291 times it was utilized by folks. So,
In the last month?
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. So
Oh, that's a
basically
lot.
100 times a week,
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
So
I'll second his motion. You can come back to a rate and bring it to us.
So what you'd like us to propose to you, some rate structure for the fill stations?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, $5 for 250 wasn't
Yes.
bad, but I'd like to see the math behind it. Thank you.
No, man.
Hold
Matt, is there any other filling stations in our area other than Mountain
There is one other filling station at Lee Creek. It does not get used very much. I talked to Josh before the meeting. He
Is
provided
it on
me-
the honor system too?
It is, but it's inside the fence. It's inside the plant there. So people have to come in when the plant's open and inside the plant and fill up. And I think it only generates about $51 a month on average. So it's not like, it's
Yeah.
not used nearly to the degree that the one at Lake Fort Smith is used.
Would you put the same coin system on that one too?
We could, I haven't had involvement with that one because that's inside the plant. So that's really Lance's purview under
Okay.
water resources. And the one at Lake Fort Smith is outside the fence. So that's falls under me. So.
Thank you.
Director Casavis.
Financials are important because they tell us the health of something. And last year, if Parrot Island was not paying their water bill, that tells us about the health of the park. How far into the red would they have been had they been paying an appropriate water bill? Do we know?
I think from last summer, it probably was about a $5,000 a month or so that we didn't get billed and recovered.
And just to reconfirm, these financials are public information. They're not classified or sensitive.
That's true.
Correct. Okay. So what does the financial situation this year look like now that they're paying the appropriate amount for water? Preliminary.
It's fine. I mean, they'll provide us with the July. I haven't seen the July numbers yet. I mean, we'll get those probably within a week or so to show. And anything before that, I mean, still, we had the June financials, which I shared with the board. But there again, that's only 1 month of operating. And so they really depend on the July and then August operating to make their budget work for the year. So we'll know a lot more when we see the July financials.
So we'll know and we'll discuss that publicly because public information should be public, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions on that item, why don't we take a 8-minute recess? Let's reconvene. And we're going to go to item number 4. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 4 tonight is a discussion requested by the board regarding a potential change in how the city bills water volume usage from CCF to gallons. Information on this topic was provided in the board's agenda packet materials. This discussion starts with the prospect of initiating a project to replace all of the city's nearly 40,000 water meters. And if such a project is funded and proceeds, there would not be a much better time to change the metering units. The meters themselves cannot be converted from CCF to gallons, so it requires meter replacement. Any project to incrementally change from CCF to gallons over the footprint of the city would require administration of 2 different billing systems for a period of several months at a minimum to much longer, depending on how long it takes to change out the entire meter inventory. After this brief introduction, I'll defer to the board's discussion on this topic. Okay.
Director Neil Martin.
So I brought this up only for ease of understanding of the citizens. CCF is just hard. It's harder to understand. Being able to see gallons makes more sense. If it's impactful, and I appreciate the information that the city put together. If it's impactful and we have potential for issues and it complicates things, I'm okay with holding off on it. But I'm just trying to think of the citizen in terms of ease in which they can read their bill and pay their bill.
Any other comments from the board? Director George.
Jeff, so you say the meters can't be converted to gallons?
The meters that we have that currently read CCF units cannot be converted to read gallon units.
But if we bought new meters, then we can convert them to gallons. Correct.
If we bought new meters, we would have to purchase meters that are calibrated for gallons.
Well, how are the
Not-
meters calibrated? How are the meters calibrated?
We can't change it. They're built a certain way.
They're built for CCF?
They're built for either CCF or to read by gallons. So
Or by gallons.
you can't change it from one to another.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? It is what it is, okay? That we'll go to item number 5.
Item number 5 is a discussion of regulations regarding establishment of data centers in the city of Fort Smith. First, let me say that we do not know of any prospect or proposal to put a data center project in the city. This discussion has come up at the request of the board to evaluate the regulations the city already has in place and to evaluate if we should consider additional regulations before any proposal might come forward. Deputy City Administrator Maggie Rice will further address this item.
Yes, thank you. So this did come up at the July 21st regular board meeting. The board requested a study session on data centers. And as you know, in October of 2023, the board passed Ordinance 7923, which made data centers required a conditional use for any data centers in an I-1 zoning district or an industrial light zoning district, and they permitted them by right within the industrial moderate and industrial heavy zoning districts. If the board wishes to pursue additional regulations such as public utility capacity certifications, water usage reports, enhanced setbacks outside of what our zoning code already requires, noise limitations outside what our municipal code already requires, what I would recommend is asking for planning staff to prepare an amendment to the zoning code, which will track through our normal process, which would first go to the Planning Commission and then ultimately be presented to the Board of Directors. And I think part of what Director Martin wanted was for the board to have review of all data centers. And if you'll remember, the board approved mini storage as a development plan. It's this, I don't want to get too technical, but it requires development plan approval. And what that means is that it goes to the Planning Commission and to the board for approval for mini storages to locate anywhere in Fort Smith. And if that's something that the board wants to improve, we can certainly add data centers as a DP land use. So no matter where they go, they first go to the planning commission and then ultimately to the board. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Director Christina Casavas and then Director Kevin Spelman.
Well, Maggie, I think, for me, certainly we want to make it as difficult as possible for a data center to be here. I know that it's not entirely within our control because the state has a law that says you can't discriminate against data centers. I have not read the law yet. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not familiar with that specific law, but in essence, that's what zoning, I mean, there's a lot of laws around zoning in that sense.
The thing that I worry about, Joe Elskin had sent us an article that was very interesting. It was talking about the financing, and they use these special purpose vehicles, which are almost like a shell corporation, to where they can ask for a city to put in a lot of infrastructure, a lot of money into infrastructure. And then if they decide to back out, we really have no legal recourse because they have no assets. And so that is something that concerns me. One of the other things that concerns me too, if they were to locate in Van Buren or somewhere that uses our water, how do we protect that? I know that quite a few of our contracts, I believe, need to be renegotiated or have expired. So those are all questions I had that I was hoping we could address with this discussion.
One thing to that point specifically, we are working through a standardized water agreement with our wholesale users. The board has seen the initial draft of that. We've shared it in February, and we've continued to refine that and work through getting that in place. We should be bringing at least the first couple of them to the board within August, September timeframe. But the standardized water user agreement does require specific city board approval for a new user, new connections that are 2 inches or greater. And so that certainly would a data center or another large industrial type of project of any sort that would require usage of 2-inch line or greater would require approval from the city.
Okay, Director Settle.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Maggie, for doing all the work. I brought the subject up because I've heard some people ask about the board was not, what's that? Was it you? The board wasn't prepared, and I know we were prepared years ago because we had passed an ordinance. So I think refining those ordinances is something we should do, and also make sure we follow the state law that was passed by the state legislators. Back to the water issue, I brought that option up: is how do we regulate water usage outside the city? Inside another city, because that's essence we're going to be doing. We're going to go inside of another city and regulate water usage if they put a data center. Do we do that today?
We do not.
So if right now, if a city X puts in a industrial plant, whatever, and they need an 8-inch water line in their system, they go do it. We have no regulation over that. Is that correct?
I'm not sure I understand that, but I think that's correct.
But under the new proposal that we're trying to get to, we can then regulate anything beyond a 2-inch.
Yes.
So if a city X puts in a industrial park and it needs an 8-inch line, it's on their side, but we can say yay or nay to that. Is that, and the board itself will have that approval, not administration, the board.
Yes.
That's what I want. Because that way the public and the board will hear exactly if something's coming that's going to use more water. Because if a company's coming in and wants 1 million gallons a day, we need to know that how it impacts our water system. Okay, the other thing I'd like to ask, can we charge for better terms, a higher than normal rate for data centers for water usage? I would like to propose a 4 times what the standard residential rate for the city of Fort Smith would be for a data center inside the city or outside the city.
That we can evaluate that.
To me, I think the water, as I've said many times, is our commodity, and we should be able to choose what we price for it. And I think if somebody's coming in here in our city or in our water system, we should be able to charge what I believe would be a rate higher than what the average citizen would pay. So I would propose a 4 times surcharge. for,
I understand the question. I mean, we'll have to evaluate that against the creating a customer class and trying to
That's
identify
what
different
I'm-
users within the customer class for specific things. I mean, if data centers themselves can be created as a customer class, I mean, potentially, but I mean, that'll have to be something we'll have to.
what I really don't want to happen is somebody goes to another small city, taps into the line, and they get the water for what their wholesale water rate is. That's what I don't want to happen.
Well, if they understood.
I mean, because right now, there's no regulation to stop that. How do we make sure that does not happen in the future? That's what I'm after. Thank you.
Director Christina Savage.
So my fear with that is the unintended consequences. There's two types of data centers. There's closed loop, which requires more electricity and you get the hum, but they're in a closed loop where you don't have the water evaporation. They don't use as much water. And then the open loop is where you use more water, but you have higher evaporation rate. So my fear would be that if a data center is coming, that's moving them towards the closed loop that uses more electricity, and then you get that hum.
They're going to hum on either side because the cooling towers itself hum. I know that the cooling towers hum. Refrigeration systems will be inside, but you'll have the generators that will generate electricity that will hum. Either one of those will make a noise.
I just have a quick question.
Director George
Where's the nearest data center? Do y'all know?
Clarksville.
Clarksville has it. Have you heard?
It's not, it's built, it's being built now, or
In Clarksville.
it's in the process of being built.
Okay, thank you.
So,
What?
do you have?
Well, I'm done.
I think Director Good was next in the
Okay.
queue, and then you can.
Yeah. You okay? Yeah. Okay, so just a couple of comments, and I want to ask Lance McAvoy to come up and address something. So I don't even intend to know all the right questions that we need to be asking, and I don't have the answer for sure. But I absolutely like the recommendations we heard from staff. Maggie, so thank you for bringing those recommendations. And I also like what Director Sutter just spoke to about if an entity, City X, was to have an industrial area outside of the city, talking about the size of line and the rates and what we could charge. Lance, can you speak to that at all to help kind of clear up?
Yeah. So Mr. Dingman's correct. All of the new agreements will be standardized, but even in the ones that we have, many of the ones that we have administratively extended.
Wait, the agreements, we're talking about rates?
No, these are the agreements for contract water users.
Okay.
Okay. Many of the ones that we have administratively extended, so that have expired, but we're still operating under that, has the 2-inch meter line requirement being approved by the city of Fort Smith before they can do that. So that's already in several of them. In fact, that's why that language carried through to the new ones that Mr. Dingman and I have been working on. And in addition to that, one of the items that we've also put in is surcharges, which you all saw. But the question to, I think Director Settle kind of touched on is, well, what if they come in and say, hey, we're willing to pay the surcharge and we don't care what the surcharge is, we'll pay it. Well, we also have in that language that if they exceed it, we can put in a flow limiter. So then that limits the flow that contract water user can take from us. So we have actually multiple barriers. We have the flow limiter that we can put in, which by the way, would be at the expense of the contract water user, not at the expense of Fort Smith, as well as the 2-inch meter requirement. Anything that size or larger would need to be approved by the board or administration.
Very helpful, thank you.
Director Neil Martin.
So Maggie, real quick, the item about requiring any kind of data center to go to the planning commission and the board, is that already in your plan that you're working up for the board?
Yes, that
Okay.
was what my understanding of what the
Okay.
board's desire
Okay,
was.
very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Director Settle.
I just like to add to what Neil had said. I like that. Plus, I like the administration to go back and see what our options would be for elevated water rate for data centers inside and outside the city.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions?
Mayor, before we adjourn, I need to say something.
Okay, let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there anything else on item number 5? Okay, Director George Savage, you recognize.
Mayor, I want to make a motion to put on next week's agenda a vote for a change of government to be put on the agenda for a vote to change of government on November 3rd. And this will be the last time.
Do we know how close they are with their signatures?
Sherry?
We are going through the process. We have gone through our first round and going through and verifying and confirming. And I really don't want to convey too much right now because nothing is finalized right now.
So when is the deadline, Sherry?
The deadline in order to get the proclamation, if it is deemed to be sufficient, the deadline in order to get that to the county clerk is August 25th.
Okay, so if they bring you some petitions Friday, but will we know by Monday if there's enough or not to get on the ballot?
Well, we would still have to go through those, whatever they submit on Friday, we would still have to go through those and verify the sufficiency of those signatures because there's potential that there could be duplicates of those that we have already verified. It is a very timely and very
Yeah, I know.
time-consuming process to verify those.
Okay, that's my motion. If anyone wants to second it, fine. If they don't.
You know, from what I'm told is they're very close, and you know, my concern all along has been procedural issues keeping this from going to the ballot. So I will second that and give it an opportunity.
Anything else?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
On item
Director
6.
Kemp, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion on August 18th meeting for an executive session to review the employment agreement for Jeff Demon to be city administrator and add a resolution to confirm and authorize the agreement for Jeff Demon to be city administrator.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All right. Item number 6 is a review of the preliminary agenda. I'm sure you've all reviewed that. If there's nothing else, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.